Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha. Guru Sakshat Param Brahma. Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam. Namami Bhagavad Pada Shankaram Lokashankaram. The knowledge that we shared yesterday, that Atma alone exists. Atma is the basis, or that feeling of the I is the basis for everything. This knowledge has been spoken about in the Vedas. Vedas are a very difficult text to understand. So, the seers of the past, the sages of the past, wanted that knowledge of the Vedas to be given to everybody. So they composed something called as Puranas. Puranas talk about the same thing that has been mentioned in the Vedas, but in a very lucid and a very easily understandable format. Those things that the Vedas talk in absolute abstract, the Puranas talk those things using a person, using a form, using a god, using a goddess. This is called as Purana. So be it. So we will have to understand, this is a very natural question as to why, or from when did this knowledge start. It is a well-known fact that this knowledge has been coming, or it has come to us till date through the teacher and the student relationship only. Without the teacher, the student cannot learn. So how did this teacher learn? He had a teacher. So how did that teacher learn? He had a teacher. So how did that teacher learn? He had a teacher. So how did that teacher learn? He had a teacher. And it goes back to Mahavishnu. Mahavishnu, the cosmic god, who's lying down on the snake called Adishesha, he gives us this knowledge for the very first time. And from then on, this has come to us till now. You have this Parampara Stotra, which is the lineage Stotra, which says Narayanam, Padmabhuvam, Vasishtam, Shaktim cha Tatputra Parasharam cha. Shukam Gaudapadam Mahantam Govinda Yogindra Mathasya Shishyam Sri Shankaracharyam. From Mahavishnu gave this knowledge to Brahma for the very first time. Brahma then gave it to Narayanam Padmabhuvam, then Brahma gave it to Vasishta Maharshi, and then the entire lineage flowed. Vasishta taught this knowledge to Rama, the Prince Rama of the Ramayana. Shakti, then it came to Shakti, then it came to Parashara, then it came to Vyasa, then it came to Shuka. Then after that, this lineage has been flowing down to us, giving this knowledge of the Bhagavata. There are 18 Puranas in the Indian tradition. In the Sanatana Dharma, there are 18 Puranas. Even when the 18 Puranas are there, this Bhagavata Purana occupies the topmost and the foremost rank. because of its Bhagavata is a complete text. Bhagavata is a complete text because once you study the entire Bhagavata in its full glory, okay, you will get the knowledge of all the Shastras. You will get the knowledge of your own self. It will come to you as your own experience. Now that you are listening to it as a third person's experience or my experience, when you read Bhagavata, this experience will dawn upon you. This knowledge will dawn upon you. This light will be lit within you. Bhagavata, for comparison, I'd make it this way. Bhagavata is like a woman's hair. When the woman's hair is braided, you make the hair into three parts, right? Then you intertwine those things and keep a ponytail, right? Bhagavata is like this text. It gives that the first section, it gives you the necessary knowledge of all the Shastras, all the texts that is required, such as the grammar, logic, karma, mimamsa, Vedanta is one part. The second part is the bhakti, is the devotion towards that Supreme Lord. Okay? The third part is the knowledge part, the jnana. Okay, so it is all these things have been intertwined one after the other, one after the other, and it is given to you in such a form that this will just, it will engulf you once you start reading Bhagavata. In Bhagavata, there is a Vakya that says, Mukti pade sadaya bhak. Okay? Mukti pade sadhaya bhak. What does it mean? It says Bhagavata is shouting on top of its voice, saying that, my dear child, liberation is your birthright. We all that we know that we have been taught in school is what? Freedom is my birthright. And all these things we have been taught in school, right? Bhagavata says, liberation is your birthright. One who reads this Bhagavata Grantha, one who understands the purport of this Bhagavata Grantha in its original form, is assured to be given this knowledge, is assured that the light will be lit within him. See, the Vedas, like I said, is a very difficult text to understand. So, this Bhagavata is the juice or the extract of the entire Vedas and all the other schools of Vedas and the Vedanta given to us in a liquid form. All that you have to do now is to take this juice and just drink. Bhagavatam in itself says that Nigama Kalpataror Galitam Phalam Shukamukad Amrita Drava Sanyutam Pibata Bhagavatam Rasam Alayam Muhuraho Rasika Bhuvi Bhavukaha. What does it say? He says Nigama means Vedas. Nigama Kalpataroho Galitam Phalam. Suppose you imagine the Vedas to be a tree. Okay? Nigama Kalpataroho. Kalpataruhu is a tree. Nigama Kalpataroho Galitam Phalam. There is a tree, there is a fruit that is hanging in the tree that now it has been fallen down. Galitam Phalam. Now, suppose the fruit is very hard, say jackfruit. You need good preparation to cut that, to do all those things. So, what has been given to you now is Nigama Kalpataror Galitham Palam Shukamukad Amrita Drava Sanyutam. The Shuka Maharshi, who's the propagator of this Veda Bhagavata Grantha, who's also the son of Vyasa, has made that fruit that has been fallen from the Veda tree into a juice. Shukamukhat Amrita Drava Sanyutam. Then what is being given? Pibata Bhagavatam. Now that Bhagavatam is given to you in the form of a juice. Pibata Bhagavatam Rasam Alayam. He says it is the most delicious juice one can ever have. Rasam Alayam Muhuraho Rasika Bhuvi Bhavukaha. But who is eligible to drink this is one who has a heart to enjoy that juice. Bhagavata, see, for other Vedantic texts, right? You need something called as sadhana chatushtaya sampatti, vairagya, moksha, titiksha, and other things that you would have heard. Bhagavata does not get into such things at all. Bhagavata says, if you are able to enjoy the juice, if you are able to enjoy the taste of this Bhagavata, then you are the most eligible candidate to drink this juice of Bhagavata. So, this Bhagavata Bhagavata would start from this point where Bhagavan Vishnu is teaching this knowledge to Brahma. Brahma is not the Vedanta Brahma, the Chaturmukha Brahma with four heads, who is considered to be the authority of this world's creation. Okay? He, Mahavishnu is giving this knowledge to Brahma before he starts to do the creation. Okay? Because the creation should happen without any prejudice. The creation should happen continuously. The creation should happen according to one's own previous births, merits, and demerits. It cannot happen according to Brahma's whims and fancies. Where if in case Brahma likes someone, he will create them to be the best. And in case he does not like someone, he will create them to be the worst. It cannot happen. Then that position of Brahma will become false. It will become like the politician's post, where you do some bribery, you do some scam, you do some scandals, and then come to a position and do whatever you like. It will not be like that, because this is a very higher post. It has to happen according to one's own merits and demerits. So before this creation, it's a very beautiful depiction in Bhagavata where Brahma asks Vishnu that, my lord, I have been born from you. We all know that Brahma is born from a lotus, right? Brahma sits on a lotus. From where is this lotus stemming from? Is from the Vishnu's navel. So Vishnu is the creator of Brahma. So Brahma, with all reverence, asks Vishnu that, my lord, you have assigned the duty of creating this entire world to me. I am scared that this work will not happen to its fulfillment, to its 100%, because I am also just like other people that have been born out of you. So I beg you to give me that knowledge of the Shrutis, the Vedas, the ultimate knowledge of the Shrutis, so that I can get inside this work, get inside this creation, do the creation without being affected by that creation. So Vishnu, with utmost compassion, it's a very beautiful depiction there, which Vishnu, out of utmost compassion, holds Brahma's hand for the very first time. Okay, but he holds Brahma's hand for the very first time, and Brahma is elated. He's getting goosebumps all over his body. He says, "This knowledge is very secretive, my boy." He says, "There are so many people. What do you mean by secret here? It, does it mean that it should be given to only few people? Does it mean that it has to be given only within the four walls?" The commentator of Bhagavata, Sri Sridharacharya, comments that it is an open secret. It is there out in the public, but only few who are eligible to get this will get this. If you do not have that yearning within you, if you do not have that deep desire within you to know this, you will not get it. So it is very secretive. That is what he means by secret. And then Brahma is given this knowledge by Mahavishnu. Okay, Brahma is given this knowledge by Mahavishnu through, actually, it is not Catuślokī. In my opinion, it is not Catuślokī. It is just one shloka. The entire essence of Vedanta is given in just two lines. Yesterday, at least, we saw a shloka where it had 4 lines, right? In this shloka, it is just 2 lines, maybe around 16 words. The entire Vedanta is covered in those 2 lines. The other 3 shlokas are supporting the first shloka that we are going to see. Okay? Now Mahavishnu is giving this knowledge to Brahma. He says, "Ahameva samevagre nanyad yat sadasat param paschat aham yade taccha yova shishyeta sosmyaham ritertham yat pratiyeta nat pratiyeta cha atmani tad vidyat atmano mayam yatha bhaso yatha tamaha yatha mahanti bhutani bhuteshu cha avateshanu pravishtani tatha teshu cha teshvaham etavadev jignasyam tattva jignasunatmanaha Anvaya Vyatirekabhyam Yatsyat Sarvatra Sarvada. This is the 4 shlokas. Okay. Like yesterday, we will do one thing. I will give you the grossest meaning of all the 4 shlokas. Then I will maybe hold your hand and take you inside the vichara of this. That is the discussion, the purport behind this. Okay. He says, Aham evasam evagre sadasat nanyataf param paschad aham yade taccha yo avashishyeta sosmyaham. This shloka comes in the 2nd canto, 10th adhyaya, 32nd to 35th shloka. 32, 33, 34 and 35. So 2nd canto, 10th chapter, 32 to 35 shloka. Okay. Aham evasam evagre sad asat nanyataf param paschad aham yade taccha yo avashishyeta sosmyaham. He says, Brahma, understand one thing, that I existed in that absolute form of that formless, as in the form of that Nirguna Brahman, the Atma. Even before this creation was done. Aham evasam eva agre. Agre means before everything else. Sadasat nanyata param. And I am not either living, not nor living. Neither am I in this, nor am I in that. I am apart from all these things. Paschad aham yede tat cha aham. He says, and after that creation, what happened? I alone exist, as in the Atma alone exists. Atma has taken so many forms, has become, that one has become so many things. See, we all keep saying this, right? Everyone is one. Everything is one. It is not right, actually. That one has become everything. There is a humongous difference between these two sentences. That one has become everything and everything is one. Everything cannot become one. That one has become everything. Okay, he says, Yede tacha, even after creation, what so many names and forms that you are seeing is nothing but my own self, that Atma. And once everything gets destroyed, what remains is that Atma. It alone remains, nothing else. Then what nonsense is this? You say that Atma alone exists, but we are seeing this world. How do you account for this world? He says, everything that you are seeing is not actually there at all. Nothing is being shown to you as so many things. See, ritartham yat pratiyeta, na pratiyeta cha atmani. He says nothing is there in that atma. That alone exists. Nothing else exists outside. Tad vidyat atmano mayam yatha abhaso yatha tamaha. He says, then how do you account for this? He says it is because of that ignorance. It is because of that maya. Okay. Yatha abhasaha yatha tamaha. Just like that darkness. You see a snake, you see a rope and misinterpret it to be a snake in the darkness. This is a second. Then yatha mahanti bhutani bhuteshu chavasheshvanu pravishta anya pravishtani yatateshu cha teshvaham. And he says, I am inside each one of you. All the forms, all the names and forms that you see is not apart from me. Me as in that Brahman, that Nirguna Tattva, the Atma Tattva. Then he says, Etavadeva jignasyam tattva jignasuna atmanaha anvaya vetirekabhyam yatsyat sarvatra sarvada. Then he says, one who desires to know this truth. Okay? How should he know? He should know it through anvaya and vetireka. That we will see what it is. Anvaya and vetireka. Yatsyat sarvatra sarvada, even that is there in both states of Anvaya and Vitireka, it is that Atma alone. My dear Brahma, know this truth and now you go and proceed to your creation. Okay, this is a very grossest form of translation that I have given to you now. I will ask G to translate it. Once he translates, we will take up each shloka and then go about that. Okay, cover it. He says, अहमेवासमेवाग्रे नान्यद्यत् सतसत्परम् पश्चादहं यदेतच्च योवशिष्येत सोऽस्म्यहम्. He told, most of you would have read the Upanishads. There is this Vakya that comes in the Upanishads. Atmava idamekameva agre asit. That is the exact shloka that he is trying to talk about here. That Atma existed even before anything else. For a very short while, for everyone's better understanding, I will first make you understand as to how this creation works. Okay? There is that absolute Nirguna Brahman Maya, Nirguna Brahman, the Atma. Then the Atma uses something called as Maya as a tool to create the entire universe. Okay, this is the grossest form of the world's creation. Okay, so now what happens? What comes out of that Maya, out of that Nirguna Brahman, the Brahman is always Brahman only. Okay, is the, see, for your understanding, is the water that you have taken from the ocean. Suppose you go to the beach and you collect one bucket of ocean water. Is that water different from the water that you see in the ocean? It is the same water. Okay, I will make it, I will give you two examples to make this understand that Atma alone exists and you are all that Atma only. Okay, suppose there is mud. Okay, then that mud becomes as a pot. Then that pot is sold to someone else, and that pot, after few years of usage, gets broken. Right? It is that same mud. That is being used to construct a school, a hospital, a house, and everything. Right? What exists even before the buildings came, what exists even before the pot came, was just that mud. What exists even when the pot is there, what exists when the building stands, what exists after the building is destroyed, after the pot is destroyed, is that mud in itself. Upanishad says, Vacha yatha saumya ekena mritpindena sarvam rinmayam vijnatam syat vacharambhanam vikaro namadheyam vrittiketyeva satyam. He says, Yatha Saumya, hey, my dear child, Ekena Mritpindena. Ekena Mritpindena, if you can understand that the entire creation is similar to this ball of mud. Ekena Mritpindena Sarvam Rinmayam Vijnatam Syad. You are able to see that all the creations around this are made out of this mud. Such as the pot, such as the building, such as a hospital, such as a home, everything. But all these things differ in their names and forms. But the substratum of all these things is nothing but that mud. Vacharambhanam vikaro namadheyam. Vacharambhanam is the words that you use. Vacharambhanam, vikaraha is the different forms. Namadheyam is the names that you give. Mrittiketyeva satyam. Know that even when all these forms are different from each other, the substratum of all these is nothing but mud. Okay, this is the Vedanta example. So I will give you a worldly example so most of you can relate. Most, I see good female population here. So I will give you a worldly example so that you can relate. You get inside, or I'll give you one more example. Suppose you are walking on an empty road, right? Suppose you are walking on an empty road and you see a gunny bag full of gold ornaments. Okay, but that gunny bag also has ornaments that you do not like or that you cannot use. Will you leave that? Naturally, you will not leave that because you know that gold is valuable. Any name and form you give to any ornaments, be it a earring or a bangle or a nose pin or anything, you know that it is nothing but gold. That gold has become as so many things. When you see it as the gold, you are unbothered or you are not perturbed by its forms. When you see the forms, the substratum is lost. Just like you give a child a wood figure of an elephant. Okay, that child is amused because it is holding an elephant. But the other person who gave it knows that it is not an elephant, it is just a piece of wood. When you see the object, when you see the name and form, when you are concentrating just on that name and form, like the child is doing in case of the elephant, you forget that it is wood. When you see that it is wood, name and forms becomes immaterial to you. Similarly, this Atma has become as so many things, the world, that you, that me, it is that same Atma that is talking from here now, and it is that same Atma which is listening to you from there. If you see the substratum, you are not bothered about the names, forms, and all the chaos that comes along with the names and forms. If you are concentrating on that names and forms, you are missing that substratum. Even when the gold is, even before the gold is made into ornaments, it was in its purest form of the biscuit. It is still the gold. Even when the gold is made as an ornament, it is that gold. Even if after the gold is melted back, it becomes that, it is still that gold. It is just that it is appearing as so many names and forms, but that substratum is that gold. Similarly, Atma is the substratum of all our existence. You are that Atma even now. When you see the substratum, you see the other things to be false. You see the other things to be a reflection. Okay? He said, that is what he says, Aham evasam evagre. Even before all these creations came, the Atma alone existed. Even when the creation is there, nothing but that Atma exists. Even after this creation is lost, Atma alone exists. See, by your experience, you know, only if you exist, the world outside you exists. In deep sleep, you do not have the world outside you. Okay? There are so many things. So there are, the Upanishad says, Yasmin sarvani bhutani atmaiva bhut vijanataha tatra kah shokaha kah mohaha ekatvam anupashyataha. One who sees that substratum of all the living beings. Why should he fear? Why should he be depressed? Why should he be agitated? Because he sees that oneness within each one of us. He sees them as not different from himself. He becomes so universal in nature that he is not having a limited body, he is not having a limited mind. Now he becomes universal. Only Vedanta, only especially Advaita Vedanta can give you this knowledge. The society now is shouting that it needs peace, it needs harmony. Only Vedanta can give you this. Right? It says, Yasmin sarvani bhutani, in all the living beings, non-living beings, you see that Atmaiva bhut vijanata, who knows that this is nothing but that Atman. Tatra kah mohaha ko shokaha. Bhagavatam in itself says, Sarva bhuteshu yaf pashyed Bhagavad bhavam atmana. One who sees everyone as divine incarnations or sees divine presence in each one of us. That we have lost. This message is required for the society. This we have lost. That is why we have limited ourselves to be very small. We have limited mind, limited body. We have to become universal, or else you cannot be peaceful. You will experience hatredness, you will experience bias, you will experience agitation, you will experience personal favorites, all these things when you are only limited. One who sees the substratum of all these things becomes unlimited by his nature. Okay? See, in Bhagavatam in itself, most of you would know. I will give you one more example. In Bhagavatam, most of you would know that there is this story of Narasimha the lion goddess, and the Hiranyakashipu. Right? Both of them are standing in the same room. Right? Hiranyakashipu, the Prahlada's father, keeps asking Prahlada as to where is your Hari? Where is your Hari? Where is your Hari? Prahlada says, what is there? There, everything that you see is nothing but Hari. See, it is in the same room, in the same time, two people are standing. One is a jnani, one is an ignorant. One is knows this truth, the other does not know this truth. See the vision that a informed person, a knowledgeable person has, and a not informed person has. A jnani sees all this world as the divine play and is not bothered. An ignorant person puts his mind into these things and suffers. That is what he says here, that even before this came, I was that Nirguna Brahman, that existence alone. When it is there, I am that existence alone. Even after this is destroyed, I am that existence alone. Okay. He says next shloka is Ritertham yat pratiyeta na pratiyeta cha atmani tad vidyat atmano mayam yatha abhaso yatha tamaha. He says all the objects that you see does not exist in reality. You are seeing objects that do not even exist. Huh? How is it possible? How can I see objects that do not exist? He gives an example. The Vedanta gives an example of the mirage. You are going in a highway. You see a water source. It appears to be a water source. But when you go near the mirage, do you actually see the water? Can you touch the water? Can you feel the water? Can you drink that water? All these things. That is why he uses the word yatha abhasaha. Abhasaha is just a bad projection. Okay? From our experience, we know that in deep sleep, this world does not exist. Right? We have discussed all these things yesterday, so I will not venture into those things again. See, I will give you one more insight, that this world that you hold so closely, the world includes all your wife, children, husband, parents, office, everything. Okay? Everything included. That you hold so closely is only in the Jagrada Avastha, which is the awakening state. And that awakening state is also around maximum 10 to 12 hours. Right? It does not exist in dream state. It does not exist in sleep state. Okay? The dream. So I will put it the other way around. When you wake up, right? You are seeing a dream. You are seeing a dream. And there are three people fighting in that dream. You wake up from that dream. Do you actually sit and ponder as to what happened to their existence, those three people who were fighting in your dream? Will you sit and ponder, or will you sit and cry as to what happened to their existence that you have lost them? You realize that this is a dream. Similarly, this world that you see is just a dream. Okay? I will give you one more example, because all these things are typical Vedantic examples. I will give you one more example so that most of you will understand. Suppose you go to a theater to see a film. Okay, there's a new film that has been released. You go to a theater and you are seeing that film. Okay. Then in that film, there is a sequence where there is the entire shot is focusing on a building. Okay. That building is caught in fire now. Okay. Will you run away from the theater because that has caught fire? You know that it does not is happening on that screen. Okay, I will make it more closer to you. The film is also over now. Okay. Now, will you go and touch the screen and think it will be hot because there was a fire scene in that? No, you know that the hero, the heroine, the songs, that fighting scene, the thriller, the fire, the water, all that you saw owe their existence only to that screen. Had that screen not been there, these things would have never come up. Similarly, all these things owe their existence to your own self. If this self is absent, the outside world is absent. Like I previously said, in sleep, you do not have any of these things. Then, why is this happening? It is because of the Maya, it is because of the ignorance. Okay? You are walking in a semi-dark area and you see a rope and misinterpret it to be a cobra. I don't know if in South America you have cobras, but maybe python. Okay? And you are perplexed, you are scared. You are scared. Okay? Then a wise person comes there and puts torch on that rope, and you realize that the snake is not there and it was just the rope. Now, what happened to that fear? Where did that snake go? Now, are you bothered that where did that snake go? I saw a snake. Now, where did that snake go? Will you be bothered about all these things? You realize that you were foolish. I will give you one more worldly example. The more I give the examples, the more you will be able to relate to. You are wearing a spectacles. Okay, I will not give the spectacle example also, because most of you say you are holding a mobile phone in your hand. Okay, and you have been searching for that same mobile throughout the day. Now your husband or your wife comes, sees you agitated, sees you tensed, and asks, "What is wrong with you? What's happening?" You say that I've been searching my mobile from so long. What does the husband or the wife do? She simply puts your concentration on that thing that is there in your hand. Why did this happen? Because of your ignorance. Now, will you keep wondering as to what happened all this while? You will just laugh at yourself and leave. Similarly, a person who has realized the self will laugh at others. Okay? My teacher used to give a very beautiful example of how a knowledgeable person, a jnani, sees this world. Okay? This jnani has entered a theme park. Okay, theme park, I think most of you would understand, where you have this water rides and other things. Okay, there is a big giant wheel that is there. Okay, this jnani is standing beneath that giant wheel and seeing all people climbing that. They are excited initially, but when they go on the top and the giant wheel stops working, everyone is perplexed, everyone is shouting on top of their voice. But the jnani is standing outside, seeing this as if this is a film. He's totally unbothered by that. That is how a jnani sees any events that happens. But though we know that we know the after effects of all these things, we purposefully enter into that, put our mind, put our intellect, and get attached to that and suffer. The main problem is the ignorance, and its fruit, the suffering. Okay, in reality, there is no ignorance and there is no suffering. Do you suffer in your sleep? You do not suffer in your sleep. Sleep, my teacher used to say this, sleep is the biggest boon that God has given to us, to show us that your real nature is bliss. But we do not pay even very minimal heed to that sleep. Okay, that is what he says. Na prati Ritirtham yat pratiyeta na pratiyeta cha atmani. These things do not exist in your real self. Yourself, your real nature is the witness for all the events that is happening around you, around the world. Tadvidyat atmano mayam. We initially told that the Atma uses the Maya to create this world. That is what he says. Tadvidyat atmano mayam yatha abhasa yatha tamaha. This is a very bad projection. Yatha tamaha. Tamaha here means the darkness, and all the examples I gave related to that darkness. Okay. Now he says about the next shloka. Yata mahanti bhutani bhuteshu cha vacheshvanu pravishtani apravishtani tatha teshu na teshvaham. He says, just as yatha, just as mahanti bhutani, mahanti is the universal here. Mahanti bhutani, the elements, the fire, water, earth, air, and all those elements. Bhuteshu chavasheshvashu. Even being it the minutest of the minute to the gigantic element, anu is the after it has entered. Pravishtani is the entered, after it has anupravishtani is after it has entered. Apravishtani is not entered. Okay. Tatha, then so. Teshu, he says teshu, in them, na, not teshu, in them myself. As in, it exists, but it does not exist in me. It exists, we know that it exists, but nothing of those things are touching me in reality. Is the sun, do you experience the sun in your deep sleep? So it is there, but though it has entered that creation, it has not entered in me. Nateshwaham, it has never touched me. The self, it has never touched that self. The self is the consciousness for all these things. Okay. Then he finishes the last shloka. Ekavadeva jignasam tattva jignasunatmanaha anvaya vyatirekabhyam tat yatsyat sarvatra sarvada. He says, etavadeva jignasyam, one who wants to know this knowledge. Jignasa is the deep desire to know, one who wants to know this knowledge. What? Tattva jignasuna atmanaha, atma tattva jignasuna, one who wants to know the nature of this real self, or his or her own real self. How should he know? He should know it from the guidance of a guru. And how? Anvaya vyatirekabhyam. Anvaya, so this is a technical term that I will take 2 minutes to explain quickly. Anvaya is understanding that all that you see is nothing but that Brahman in itself. All the entire cosmos that you see is nothing but Brahman in itself. Any smallest, minutest of the minute thing that you see is nothing but that Brahman. Accepting everything to be Brahman is Anvaya. Vyatireka, the other way around, is negating everything. Okay? Even after negating that which exists in all three states. Okay? Even before the body came, most of you would have read this Catuślokī. Na bhūmir, na toyam, na tejo, na vayuhu, na kham nendriyam va, na tesham samuhaha, anaikantikatvat, sushuptyeka siddhas tad ekaha avashishta shivah kevaloham. Most of you would have read this Catuślokī. I am not this body, I am not this sense organs, I am not any of this. That which shines within me throughout all these experiences as I. Even after negating all those things, that thing which cannot be negated, that which shines forth even after removing all the things that can be removed, and that thing which cannot be removed is this process of doing the vichara, doing the inquiry is called as vyatireka, where you negate everything that can be negated, and that thing which remains unnegated is the Atma Tattva, is called Vyatireka. Anvaya, you engulf everything and say that everything that you see is Brahman. Vyatireka is you negate everything that you see and see the substratum of all these things. Both the ways, both the methods will give you that same result of seeing that substratum. Anvaya Vyatireka Bhyam. Yat syat sarvatra sarvada. That which exists at all times and all during all situations and everywhere. Sarvatra sarvada. Sarvatra means throughout this, because the world has come from that. So it is not apart from that. Okay? That is what Mahavishnu gives this message to Brahma. Okay? How is this message to Brahma? Is most, because it is South America, I can boldly say this. You have this jackfruit, right? Jackfruit. Before you cut the jackfruit, you need preparations of smudging oil to your hands, to the knife, so that the gum that comes out of the jackfruit does not stick to your hand and become messy. Similarly, Vishnu gave this message to Brahma so that the complications of creation does not stick to Brahma and he becomes involved in that. He does the creation as a work given to him and stays and sees that it is that consciousness that has been doing all these things. Now, Brahma, by his abundant grace, this message is also given to you. It is his utmost grace that this message has also fallen into your ears. Vedanta Upanishad in one place says that there are so many people who are not even blessed to listen to this message. You are all blessed to get this message. It is his utmost grace. We have got a superior life in this birth, a human life. We should never waste that life. You will have to sit alone, away from all the distractions, do the enquiry of whatever is being said. Only then these 2 days of listening will be fruitified. Or else this will also become another lecture like physics, maths, chemistry, and social, where you come, you listen, and you forget. He has been kind enough to give us this message, and it has fallen into our ears. We have to make utmost usage of this message. Okay, I hope I was able to make justice to whatever I spoke. Because of the time constraints, I had to cut short deep explanations and just give examples back to back, so that you could understand the gist of that shloka. I sincerely thank Francis G for requesting me to come and talk here. I also thank all of you who have been gracious enough to take time to come here to listen to this message. It was a very enriching experience, very heartening to see so many of you turn out on a Sunday morning and a Saturday morning. So I offer this at the holy feet of the Sringeri Acharya, my teacher, who has very lovingly given me this knowledge. I owe everything to him. I offer at their holy feet, from whom I have learned, and I will close this, and I hope most of you would make use of this valuable message that is given to you. Okay, I will ask Francisco G to translate for one last time, and maybe after that you can give your inputs, or you want to ask something, or you want to share something, you can always feel free to do that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Signing off. Cheers.